Hey, it's a local spotlight show here at WJBM Studios in Jerseyville, Illinois, the voice of the Tri-Counties. I'm Chris Lorton. I'm your host today, probably tomorrow as well. And with me, my guests from Royal Banks here in Jerseyville and over in Missouri. I have Donnie Walsh and Mitch Baden. Welcome, both of you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
And Mitch, you are the president and CEO of Royal Banks of Missouri.
Biggest honor of my life. Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Great to represent a good group of people who work really hard. And to be the face of the company has really been an honor.
Yes.
Love it.
And just from a little bit of talk before we came on the air, you're a Missouri fan, a big Missouri fan.
Missouri football, yeah, I am.
And you used to play football for Missouri.
Stumbled around Faroe Field, lived in Coach Faroe's basement for a few years, which was really fun.
Yeah.
That basement can tell some stories. Yeah, I'm very proud of the history that I have at Mizzou. Love that you're supporting the Illini because I want them to do well as well. Fun programs to watch these days for sure.
Yeah, and we've got some Missouri fans here. You know, of course, Carl Crawford is great. He played for Missouri as well. So what position did you play? Were you linebacker?
Oh, God, no. I always joke that I played a position that doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. In a defense nobody runs, to stop an offense that nobody runs except the academies in a conference that doesn't exist. So I played what was known as a monster back. It was kind of a linebacker. But at Missouri, we ran it with a defensive back. Idea was to stop the wishbone. It had a real good job. Yeah. All I had to do was turn and break every rule and just stop the quarterback, make him pitch or hand the ball off.
Yeah.
And if I did that, I had a good play. But I tell people
you freelanced, right? I mean, you were able. There was no you were just watching and reacting.
You know, they recruited me and told me that I could be a wide receiver. Mm-hmm. That was a lie. I found out 20 years later that was never the plan. I guess I was gullible. And the bottom line was, the coach that recruited me after getting hit by an All-American linebacker for 3 weeks in a row, grabbed me by the face mask one day and said, "Do you want to hit somebody instead of getting hit?" And I said, "Oh, yes, sir, please." It was a plan. And so I played this position, like I said, monster back, 5'3", nobody runs it anymore, to stop a wishbone that only the academies run.
Okay, you were in a 5'3". Were you the middle backer of the three, or you were behind the three?
Lined up, exactly opposite. Lined up off the outside shoulder of the tight end, chucked him, turned in to face the quarterback, and all I had to do was make sure the quarterback hit the quarterback. It was the greatest job in the world.
Yeah.
And then he had the pitch. Every time. And you know, generally what they did is they saw me lined up and they'd go the other way. Not because they were afraid of me, but that's where the power side was. So, yeah, it was a fun experience. Everything good in my life started in Columbia, actually.
I'll be darned. So what was your hometown?
St. Louis. I went to Parkway North High School. But, so I'm a St. Louis, and my wife is from Southeast Missouri. And met her on a recruiting trip to Ole Miss. And then we had a long-distance relationship, and she decided after I got hurt one day to come up to Columbia and take care of me. Never went back to Ole Miss.
I'll be darned.
Yep.
How's that? So you didn't go into banking right away. Didn't you teach for a while?
No, I wanted to. Chris, my wife, like I said, had a PhD in elementary counseling, and she decided that there just wasn't enough money for two of us.
Yeah.
So I went into banking. My brother was a banker. He helped me get a job as a teller when I was in high school, and I've been in banking ever since, 52 years.
I'll be darned. How did you make the Royal Banks? How did you get into? How'd that come about?
You know, our company's 62 years old, and I had worked at Mercantile Bank in St. Louis for years, and you could just sense that there was something different, and I could feel that we were going to sell, and I didn't want to be in the middle of a sale, so I went to a small community bank in South City, publicly traded bank. My joke is we did such a good job that we actually put the bank up for sale. And so I went to Royal about 3 years after I left Mercantile, and I've been there ever since, 25 years. So we're 62 years old, and I think what makes us different is we have a lot of people that have been there a long time and care about their clients, just like Donnie. Donnie was the first person that we hired in our office here in Jerseyville.
Is that right? Donnie, tell me, how did you get into banking?
Well, I started out at Farm Credit Production Credit Association in Carlinville about 1981. I started working out of the Jerseyville office, and at the time, State Bank of Jerseyville contacted me to go work for the State Bank of Jerseyville. I started there in '85, and I was at State Bank until 2000 when First Bank purchased it. I moved on, went to some banks over St. Louis, and then when Royal Banks purchased Jerseyville, they called me and asked if I'd be interested in a job, and I looked for the opportunity to come back. So I've been there 6 years now.
Yeah, 6
You
years.
know, Chris, our we're a relationship business, and Donnie used to work at State Bank, and the problem was we were the second bidder. We lost when First Bank won the bid to buy the bank. So we got the opportunity to buy the bank 20 years later. And like I said, the first person that we hired was Donnie, and he was recommended to us by our accountants who had worked with Donnie when he was at the bank. So it's a full circle.
I'll be darned. That is great. Now, is there a difference between a community bank and like a national bank? Like the bigger banks? What's the difference?
I take great pride in the fact that our entire senior management team worked at big banks before, and Donnie worked at big banks before, and chose to come to a community bank. We just felt like, I know I did, I felt like my clients were being treated like a number. And we don't do that. We know all of our clients. We know them by name. Donnie, when he goes to church or goes to the store, he's not only going there into his community, he's going there where his clients are. So we are invested in our clients, and we want to be the best community bank. And I think the biggest difference is we really care about the communities we're in. We're not there just to check a box. We're there because it's the right thing to do. And that's why we love Jerseyville so much.
Mm-hmm. Donnie, how about you? You feeling pretty good at Royal Banks?
Oh, yeah.
He better answer this the right way.
Yeah, I banked a couple different banks over St. Louis, and you're right. In Jerseyville, you've developed these relationships, and people always ask how often you go out and knock on doors. And I said, really, you don't do that very much in a small town because people are referred to you. And what's nice is your clients refer their friends to you. So there's not a better way to advertise than just by the personal relationships that you develop here in the community.
Yeah, when you think about community bank, I mean, of course, farming is the big business in this area. Maybe it is around St. Louis too. I don't know, but you got farming and then businesses and then mortgages. Is there anything I'm missing as far as banking goes?
No, that's you're right. Farming is a big part of it, but there's a lot of activity going now with all businesses in town, and you see a lot of people coming in trying to either they're selling their business or they're increasing size of the business. They're growing, and they're looking for a bank to grow with. And so I guys made people on commercials that do farms right now.
Okay. All right. I noticed we got one big improvement going on right next to you. You got any comments about that?
Well, Nick's is we're excited about it.
Yeah.
We think we love his vision for what he wants to do downtown.
Uh-huh.
We love having a neighbor who wants to modernize because we've spent a lot of money on our offices. And a vibrant downtown really makes a big difference, and so we're excited about that, and we're absolutely thrilled to be the bank that's supporting that.
Fantastic. Hey, if you're just joining us, I have Donnie Walsh, the VP at Royal Banks, and Mitch Baden, who is the CEO and the president of Royal Banks. How many banks do you guys have now?
Well, we have 2 new branches that we're about to add, so we have 17 throughout Missouri and Illinois. Our Illinois markets we love. We're in Granite City, we're in Edwardsville, but soon going to be in Glen Carbon, and of course in Jerseyville. And then we're up in northeast Missouri in a little town called Center. has a population of 540 people. We might be the second highest staffing in terms of employees in town, and then in New London and in Hannibal. So yeah, we've got a nice growing business. We've doubled the size of the company in the last 7 years, and we're excited about the future for our company.
How do you handle that much? I mean, that's a lot.
Great people.
Yeah.
I tell everybody there are 3 things for success to be in our business as the CEO. One is you have to have great ownership, and we have great owners who do a great job for us. We have to have great employees who are willing to go above and beyond, which we do. And then as CEO, you got to be willing to change. You got to be willing to look at things and maybe not think of everything in a box. And I think we have all those. I know I change a lot because I learn something every day. But yeah, we're excited to be here and in our new markets in Northeast Missouri as well.
Yeah. So I got a question. Everybody wants to know what do you think about interest rates? Are they gonna stay like the way they are? I mean, what are they now? Basically, what's a right at this point in time? What's a 30-year mortgage going for somebody that has good credit?
30-year mortgage is probably in the low to mid 6s. We were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that rates are so high. The reality is these are basically where they've been historically. We were spoiled by what happened, during COVID, which forced rates down. So I think rates, the Fed futures this morning, I was listening to some of the business channels this morning. There's more of a chance they're going to go up than they were going to go down. 4, 5, 6 months ago, everybody was thinking there were going to be 2 or 3 rate reductions this year. Now there's a better chance that before the end of the year or first part of next year, there's actually going to be a rate increase.
Does interest rates, just from listening to you, is it like supply and demand? If there's a lot of money, the rates are going to go up. If there's limited money, it go down. How's that work? For community banks and for all banks, it's really based on what we're getting charged or what we can earn. Okay.
So we have banks. Banks have a bank as well. They're called correspondent banks. Our correspondent banking partner is the Central Bank in St. Louis. They're a great partner for us. And whatever they're charging is generally at the discount rate that the Fed charges. That's what really controls our cost of funds as well. And it's really important that the Fed stay consistent in their focus. And in the last few years, they have kind of, moved a little bit away from what their mission is. They have a hard mission. They're supposed to control economic growth and unemployment and inflation. Those 3 things are not always going in the same direction, and they're not the same controls.
Control economic growth. Don't you always want it to go up?
Well, you don't want it to grow too fast.
Oh yeah, okay.
You don't want it to decline. So there's got to be a middle ground. Too fast a growth means that a lot of companies will outspend their capital. We're just talking to a client about that today, making sure that his growth that he was going through meets his capital that he has. So you want to control that and make sure that these companies have a little bit of money in their purses to be able to support if there's a tailwind.
Right. Okay. How about in 2008, which was a big turning point for everybody, with the banking business? Any comments on that?
Well, 2008 was a huge change. Lots of bank failures. St. Louis market was overbanked. The Missouri Department of Finance, basically, if you had the money, they'd let you open a bank. So there are too many banks, and many of those banks, especially the new ones, failed. There's only one of the 18 banks that started in St. Louis during that period that made it.
Really? Yeah.
And the rest all failed or were purchased because they were failing. CRE, commercial real estate lending, is the basis for most community banks. That's our biggest asset, our bank too. We've fought like the Dickens the last 7 years to move a little bit away from that. But in 2008, vacancies went up, interest rates started creeping up, cash flows were horrible, and the examiners started looking differently at commercial real estate than they did before. And so everybody had to retrench, and it was probably the biggest change in our business before COVID.
Yeah, I just got done with a big project in the construction business with my brother building the condos in Grafton. There's 32 condos up on the hill. And he had just got those done and sold the last one, and then the bottom fell out, everything. I mean, and then with me, you know, I was restarting, I'd been, you know, on that job for a couple years. And I was having to kind of start all over again as far as getting clients, but then there was no clients. And I basically keep my crew going. I was just buying properties, you know, for pennies on the dollar, basically, you know, and just kind of buying properties, fixing them up, turning them into apartments, commercial space or whatever, which worked out for me back then because we had low interest and there was plenty, and they were selling cheap. So, but then the next big thing, you know, things started building back up and things started running pretty smooth, wouldn't you say? You know, and then we have 2020 with the COVID. That threw everybody for a loop, didn't it?
Sure did. Yeah,
How did that change the banking business?
Well, the face-to-face meetups that just kind of put a stop to that. Now, Jerseyville is different than other places. A lot of outside activities still happened. You know, we weren't as restricted staying at home as other places were, but it definitely sure changed the atmosphere for banking in. You know.
Yeah, just as far as banking goes, what do you guys think about the changes that happened? You know, it used to be, you know, everybody went to the bank every day, but they don't have to go anymore. They don't have to leave their house. They got it all on their phone.
Yep.
How about that? How'd that affect the industry?
Well, I think if you, you know, I said that as a CEO, you have to be willing to change, and everything we do is digital. Now, we have as much invested in a digital platform and a digital banking platform than we do in a lot of our branches. It's important. You know, what saved us was we invested $1 million or more in something called an interactive teller network. And so every other bank in town closed and had hours that were shortened during COVID.
Yeah.
We actually extended our hours. We went from 8 until 7 o'clock. And the reason we could do that is you could drive up to it looked like an ATM, an automatic teller machine, but you could press a button and get a person. And at that machine, you can open an account, you can stop payments, you can make a deposit, and you can talk to people. And the people that manufacture these machines hate our company. And the reason they hate our company is we don't care about how long the transaction takes. Many times these clients come up and they see somebody and they say, "Hey, Donnie, what's going on?" And they want to have this conversation because they want to talk to a real person at the bank. Mm-hmm. And that's what they're getting. They're getting a bank employee that can do the exact same thing. And during COVID, when we were restricted, people were able to still do business with us and never walk in the building.
And how many of those machines did you have?
We had 15 of them. Now we have 7. Now we're going to have 17. In fact, when we left our Jerseyville office today, there were 3 cars lined up in those machines, and nobody lined up at just the drive-in teller.
I'll be darned. So that's what's going on. Okay.
Yeah, technology is really important in our industry.
Huh. Any other big changes in the industry that you've seen? I know you're able to change on the cuff, like, you know, do you see anything happening in the future as far as banking goes?
You know, I still see a consolidation that's going on. It started in 2008, like we talked about. Not only did CRE, commercial real estate lending, change, but the consolidation started. A lot of community banks were purchased. I think we're going to continue to see that. And I think, and we've seen it in the Jerseyville market. One of the big banks here purchased another bank. And so I think you're going to continue to see that. And I think the most important thing is that you deal with a bank that wants to be a player going forward. And that's what we are. Our goal is to stay independent and be the best independently owned community bank in all the markets that we're in. If we can do that, we'll be very successful.
Yes.
Yeah, I will say, Chris, about rural banks, the best decision I ever made to come work for this organization. I've been gone from Jerseyville a number of years to come back to find a lot of clients that still needed assistance. I wasn't getting it from the current lenders in town, and Rural Banks has been so great to work with as far as I take items in they've never seen before. They've never been involved with an ag bank before, and they're very open and receptive to any proposal that I put together for them that works for our client and the bank.
Yeah. You know, and if you're a banker and you're working with farmers, you know, that's pretty interesting. I'm sure that's a different twist, you know, isn't it or not?
Oh, yes. I mean
you gotta love that.
I love working for farmers, and we've had our farmers summit every year, invite a bunch of farmers, and Mitch and the whole crew comes over from St. Louis, and everybody just gets along fantastic, and Mitch enjoys the fair parade coming up. He enjoys they enjoy every aspect of Jerseyville. The people in St. Louis can't wait to come to Jerseyville to see what we're doing up here. It's always something different that they've not seen before, and we enjoy it.
Yeah, you know, that's what I hear. People that have lived here, people have moved here, they love this Tri-County community. You know, it's really nice. You know, people are very, very hospitable, friendly. They look out for each other. You know, you're always waving as you go down the road. You know, you're waving to everybody. What's your opinion on Jerseyville?
Oh, I love Jerseyville.
Did you know Jerseyville before you bought the bank?
You know, I'd been up here before because, like I said, we looked at trying to buy this bank before.
Okay.
So I knew Jerseyville. I love Jerseyville. I think it's a great community. I love driving downtown. I think it's great. It's Americana. The parade in a few weeks is a perfect example of that. Seeing those hundreds and hundreds of kids and how excited they are to be. But we also have that same flavor in our other rural markets too, in Northeast Missouri, and I love it. I really think it's very different than banking in a city. You're right. Everybody knows each other. And reputation means a lot in our business. And so we know who to go to and who not to go to. And people like Donnie and Sharon in our bank here are people that can help us stay out of trouble. But this is a great investment for us. Our rural banks are performing much better than our bank in St. Louis is.
Okay. And how big a percentage of all the banking that a community bank does is mortgages? What would you say?
You know, it's funny you ask that. My predecessor had closed our mortgage department down because he was scared to death of all of the violation potentials that could be finable. And so rather than fight that, he just shut it down. I started it up probably at the worst time you can back up. I started our mortgage department back up right in the middle of COVID. I got tired of sending our best clients down the street to somebody that we were sort of competing with. So we do quite a bit of mortgages. We're at record levels of mortgages. We originally were going to sell all the loans that we could into the secondary market, but those rates were higher. We were able to give a shorter term and a better rate than what was available in the secondary market. So we hold a lot of our loans in our portfolio, and our mortgage loans are higher than they've ever been. And so is our home equity loans. They kind of feed off of each other.
Yeah.
And they're both the safest bank loans that you can have. They have the lowest number of default you can possibly have.
All right. Well, fellas, it's so good to have you. Anything you want to end on before we wrap this up?
Just one quick story, going back to Mitch's first parade he attended here at Jerseyville. We were early in the parade. We were going down, and we all handed candy out, and about 2 blocks down, we said, "Where's Mitch at?" Mitch was gone. Well, I come find out he was 2 blocks behind us handing candy out to everybody. He didn't know how to pace himself.
I wanted to get to know everybody.
That's right.
No,
That's right.
it's a lot of fun. You know, the only thing I can say is you should be proud of the community that you're in. This is a great community, and we are very proud to be a part of it.
Well, thanks. We are too.
Thank you, Chris.
So. You guys
Thanks for
take
having
care.
us.
Yes, my pleasure. I'm glad you came in. You guys take care.
Okay.